We welcome you to Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds prepare to welcome North Carolina FC. And tonight's match is presented by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Good evening, everyone, with Jeff Attinella, the former MLS goalkeeper, Mike Watts on hand as well. Take a look at the Eastern Conference. Top 8 will eventually make the postseason. And take a look right above the red line. Pittsburgh 2 points ahead of North Carolina. And for both of these sides, 3 points could thrust them up multiple positions on the table here tonight. Now, Jeff, as you look at Pittsburgh, ousted in the Open Cup by FC Tulsa, they got a chance at revenge in the league. However, it was quite the up-and-down, zany affair.
It was a bit of a roller coaster, this game down in Tulsa, as we see Tulsa taking the early lead. They eventually were able to take a 2-0 lead in this game, thanks to a goal from a penalty kick and then a goal from a run of play. But Pittsburgh responded back. They say in soccer that 2-0 is the most dangerous lead to have, and that held true. They had a PK goal of their own. Parada was able to redeem himself with a big-time save here. And then who else but Isaiah Sterling, who was able to tie this game late, that saw Pittsburgh battle back from that 2-0 deficit, as we see him bury it home here, as they were able to battle back and earn that point. Speaking of Isaiah Sterling, he is our player to watch tonight. After the conversation with Coach Bob Lilly, a lot of the conversation was based around capitalizing their chances in front of goal, and nobody on this Pittsburgh offense has been able to do that better as of late than Sterling. Look for him to be a menace behind that back line, threatening their center backs all game long. And as for North Carolina, they were able to get 3 points of their own this week on a Tuesday matchup where Slowden, with an absolute stunning finish here from Paco Craig, he's able to redirect it into the far post. You will not see many better goals than that throughout the week, and they were able to seal the deal late into stoppage time with an absolute screamer here from Bryce Washington, who was able to bird it past the goalkeeper and saw all 3 points for the North Carolina side. When we're talking about players to watch tonight, for me, there's no more important player on the field for North Carolina than Colin Martin. The way that Pittsburgh likes to play, it's going to be an absolute dogfight. And his veteran presence in the midfield in terms of blocking out lines, and on the offensive side, his ability to distribute from breaking lines and being in the center of the park will be an absolute key if North Carolina is going to have success tonight.
All right, well, it is the reigning League One champion, away to take on the reigning championship Players' Shield holder. Ready to go alongside the Monongahela in Pittsburgh. It's the Riverhounds welcoming North Carolina FC. Lineups and kickoff after these messages.
Amazing. At AHN, we see you trying to be your absolute best. And when it feels like you lost your best along the way.
Okay.
We see you taking control.
Looks good. Prescription. It says here.
And needing the quickest care possible.
Let's go.
At AHN, we see you.
Ain't no better feeling than a cold one in my hand. That's why I'll be keeping Iron City in my plans. Oh, everywhere I roam, I'll be thinking about my home. Sitting pouring on the iron right before I go to rest. And when I'm laying in my bed, there's only one thing in my head. Just an ice cold can of Pittsburgh, PA's best.
Where can you get Wi-Fi speeds faster than Verizon? X marks the spot. Get the lowest price ever for Xfinity Gig Speed Internet with unlimited data included. That's Xfinity Gig Speed Internet for only $30 a month for 12 months with no annual contract when you add a line of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited. If you want to save more than $800 over Verizon in your first year, X marks the spot. Switch to fast, reliable Xfinity Internet and bring on the good stuff.
Tonight's match is presented by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC. Sunset approaches here in Pittsburgh. We meet the starting lineup assembled by Bob Lilly tonight. One change, Sample to the bench. Keziah Sterling comes in for his 6th start of the year.
And Parada gets the nod in goal tonight after a stellar performance versus Tulsa. Look for this back five for the outside backs to be up and down, but really trying to bottle up that North Carolina attack with the defending 3 from the center backs. And for North Carolina, they had a midweek game, so they have 4 changes in the lineup tonight. Carrera, number 13, gets the start in goal. McLaughlin comes in up top with Brewer and Maldonado filling out the right side out in the defensive.
Notably, no Justin Malou tonight, subbed out against Loudoun, a hamstring injury. Lamar Batista unavailable. He got a 2nd yellow in the 12th minute of stoppage time on Tuesday night against Loudoun, a game that saw a multi-hour lightning delay. Ultimately, everybody's ready to roll tonight that's made the trip here for North Carolina. They're also without Rafa Menzigan due to personal reasons. Colin Martin and North Carolina FC, the reigning League One champion. And then you've got this Pittsburgh side. The core is still intact. When you talk to Bob Lilly, he acknowledges we've underperformed, and yet we still feel we have everything we need in this group to accomplish our goals.
Well, I think a lot of the conversation that we had with Coach Bob Lilly was really just about getting everybody on the same page early on in this season. And in traditional Bob Lilly fashion, even though the results have started to change, they're starting to see an uptick in the standings, he wants to see a better, more complete performance from his group. When you think about Pittsburgh, you think of a team that's very hard to break down, and they're not going to beat themselves. And he's trying to get this new group here to buy into the methodology. And even though their results are starting to change, he'd like to see more of a complete performance from his side.
Has a chance to do it tonight. 7 and 8 in the Eastern Conference, a mid-May matchup with pretty significant implications. Pittsburgh gets the first touch. Here we go from Highmark. It is the Riverhounds welcoming North Carolina FC. First meeting between the two teams since 2019. Early ball across, asking questions. Ball nodded out toward Etu. And the whistle's gone. It is offside. So Pittsburgh trying to jump on the board inside 15 seconds tonight.
Well, it's definitely the right mentality from the home side. North Carolina a little bit lucky there that they weren't caught sleeping off of the kickoff, but look for them to settle into this game a little bit, try to control the pace of it, even though that's exactly what Pittsburgh wants to do as well.
Washington. Washington wearing the mask tonight, and I imagine that doesn't make having Pittsburgh's seemingly unceasing pressure around you any easier.
Yeah, I never played with a mask myself, but I wonder what that does for the peripheral vision, especially when you're talking about trying to chase a forward around like Sterling. He'll pop up in random pockets. It'll be a difficult task for this North Carolina defense tonight, the way that Sterling's been playing as of late.
Aforementioned Sterling comes back to get a piece of the ball out to Etu. Sends early, ball knotted back toward goal from Forbes and finds Carrera on the bounce.
That's a fantastic idea. A little bit of an early service here. Pittsburgh had numbers in the box though. Great idea here to lay it off. Forbes gets a good look at it. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get a little more power behind it, but I like the idea early. Get the ball into the box, try to create something with your front 3, or I apologize, with your front 2. Lay it off to that trailing midfielder who's occupying that gap on top of the box.
Forbes' appearance 271 in the championship. He is now 6 away from owning the minutes, assist, and games played record. Hounds seem to like this side to begin. Etu inward, all dummied along, pops up to Mertz. Last time Pittsburgh hosted North Carolina, mentioned 2019, Mertz scored the winner in that game in July 2019.
And he's really getting involved in the early action here, occupying that far post. was a smart run from Sterling, does a good job, knows that the defenders are going to track him, decides to leave it. Mertz had a little bit of time and space on the back post, and that's the second time already that he's been involved in this attack.
We had a chance to talk with John Bradford, the 44-year-old manager for North Carolina FC, came up with the team that won League One. He's been involved in the organization for over a decade now. Made clear, right? 0-3 on the road. At some point, you need to go get that road win and prove that you can. A lot of teams will go to Pittsburgh. A draw is more than satisfactory. They do have their eyes on all 3 points tonight. All popped out to Kiza. Etu. Forbes. Biasi. Etu. Flag is down. Finds Carrera. By the way, both teams utilizing a reserve goalkeeper of sorts. It's Carrera in for McGuire. It's Parada in for Dick. How about we take a look at the keys to the game, brought to you by the premium light lager that embodies all things black and gold. I see light. Pittsburgh, you want to see full 90 minutes.
I do. When we were having the conversation with Coach Bob Lilly, the conversation was centered around the idea that they're seeing it in spurts, they're seeing it in pieces, but they have been beating themselves a little bit in terms of the mistakes and just careless mistakes that you're not seeing from this, used to seeing from this Pittsburgh group. He wants to see this team put together a full 90-minute performance tonight so that he knows his group is trending in the right direction. And for North Carolina, when you talk about wanting to come into Pittsburgh and get all 3 points, you have to be up for the fight. It's a difficult place to play. The style that Pittsburgh plays, especially at home, makes it challenging. Be up for the fight from the first minute. Try to weather that initial storm and keep that going the entire game.
Riverhounds pick it up. Forbes through Biasi. Carolina forcing them back into their own half. The clip diagonal ultimately falls to Mertz. Aims down the line. Blackstock is never going to count. The offside flag has been a real hindrance tonight in the early going.
It looked like he might have been able to keep himself on sides on that one. Initially, I'm sure the linesman got it right, but impressed early with how many numbers Pittsburgh able to get in this attacking half. Every time they're able to get onto the flanks, they have 3 or 4 different players in the box for targets, and they've utilized both sides early on. Keeps the North Carolina defense guessing.
Tonight's injury report sponsored by Epic Insurance. Len Coop out for Pittsburgh. Malou with the hamstring is out tonight for North Carolina. A yellow card shown to Asumanu. And Garrett McLaughlin earns a free kick in an enviable position for North Carolina.
And that's an important yellow card too early in this one. When you're talking about one of your center backs who gets stuck in, getting that early yellow, he's definitely late to the challenge. The ball pops up off of that turf and he gets nothing but knee. I agree with the yellow card here from the referee, but that's an important thing to note as this game continues, because that's going to have to change the way that he plays throughout the course of the night.
Bob Lilly offering his thoughts.
I don't think he saw it the same way that I did.
Fourth official at the end, Yaya, appears to be ignoring that.
Yellow card against
Natalie Simon is the highly lauded official tonight, assigned by Pro. Laughlin and Louis Perez over the ball. Perez spent 2021 in Pittsburgh. This toward goal, toward the Paul Child standing above the bar. Nothing doing from Perez.
That's really the first bit of action that we've seen in Pittsburgh's defensive half. I don't mind having the go. It's a little bit far out. The goalkeeper's dealing with some sun issues as well. But when you have that many numbers inside of the box, maybe a little dump ball in behind that back line would have been the better choice.
You were never the visor or the hat wearer, were you?
No, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Everyone was always offering a hat to me when I was playing, but I just wasn't ready to be a meme, I don't think.
Good ball down the line. Pittsburgh trying to make something of this now. Blackstock wiggles free, sends it in front, above the bar by Forbes. That a gaping opportunity right in front of goal for Conardo Forbes.
And that's exactly what we were talking about, making the most of your opportunities. It's a good build-up play. I thought Blackstock should have played the early ball, but he opts not to. Instead, decides to take on the defender. It's a great ball in, and Forbes does everything he can to get on the end of it, but it ends up bouncing off his foot and going over the bar. An absolute open goal there for Forbes. He would love to have that one back.
Second team All-League last year. He's been a consistent All-League performer really since he joined, as the train makes its nightly appearance here in Pittsburgh, but without a goal or an assist thus far this year. Kizza battling alongside Mikey Maldonado. He's primarily played in a holding midfield role, but steps in at center back tonight, position he's familiar with, playing for North Texas and Forward Madison.
And that's something of Forbes' game that I love. He's able to make those runs late from the midfield and find himself open in those opportunities, and you're really not going to get a better look than he was able to get on that one. I understand the ball comes off the turf a little bit tough, but definitely one he'd love to have back.
Attu, ball tapped down by Sterling and cleared.
Really impressed with Pittsburgh play here early on. They're able to establish this possession. I don't remember a spell in this game at all yet through 10 minutes where North Carolina's been able to get a hold of this ball. They're really doing a great job throwing numbers forward. North Carolina a little bit lucky, a little bend but don't break right now. But pretty fortunate early on not to be down 1-0.
I mean, really, it was the singular free kick that was won a bit against the run of play. McLaughlin making that run toward the top of the 18 and getting chopped down. Other than that, North Carolina hasn't even been in the attacking third yet.
Yeah, I don't really remember many sequences where they've been able to get a hold of this ball, but that speaks to the way that Pittsburgh's playing right now. Really overloading those wings, throwing numbers forward and making life difficult for North Carolina as we see them gain a little bit of possession and see if they can settle into this one.
Colin Martin just the man you want on the ball to try and settle North Carolina down here on the road.
Yeah, I think so. He's the veteran presence. He's been through a lot of things in this league, and especially his positioning as you watch the course of this game. His spot in between these Pittsburgh lines are going to be so important if they're able to break this press and really break down that block when they're able to establish that possession a little bit higher up the field.
Away by Parada. Skips off the turf. Mertz. Kizza did the hard work to keep it. Forbes. Attu. Once in a while you wonder how someone could possibly be onside, and then you're proven right. Mark your calendars, Wednesday, May the 29th. Monterey Bay takes on Eastern Conference leader Charleston Battery, 10 p.m. Eastern time from Seaside, California on CBS Sports Network. Blackstock steps to Ezra Armstrong. He spent 2021 in Pittsburgh. Had part of the 90 World Cup team, 81 caps. The way you see Mertz at the bottom of your screen there. Sister Landy is playing for the sister club of North Carolina FC, the North Carolina Courage, who won last night. 1-0 back in Cary, North Carolina. Intriguingly, between NCFC and the Courage, they are a combined 0-8 on the road. Not a single point between the two teams, and we're in the middle of May.
Well, they do play at a beautiful home stadium.
Don't they? Wow.
Not that that speaks to not winning on the road, but they have a beautiful stadium that they're playing at when they're at home, so I'm sure they're very comfortable.
When you were playing, was it NCFC or was it still the Railhawks?
It was still the Railhawks.
Love to see that.
But a beautiful place to play. I mean, the field is absolutely pristine, tons of space. Really one of the best pitches in all of American soccer.
It's not often that a venue home to an NWSL and a USL team gets all that many national team games. It's extraordinarily telling that Cary, North Carolina finds itself in that rotation along with really the primary home to Women's College Cup for the last decade, as well as the ACC Conference Championship as well. It's because of the grounds crew. Natalie Simon shows advantage. It's out wide by Danny Griffin. Feigning in all directions, Blackstock, now Mertz. 3 black jerseys were waiting, the delivery never came.
Pittsburgh doing a really good job here early in this one of just pinning North Carolina in their own half. North Carolina wants to try to progress up the field. They want to set their line of confrontation a little bit higher, but their possession, moving the ball from side to side, has been excellent early on here for Pittsburgh.
Etsu's got to know better than that. You have the view of the entire field.
Yeah, just a little bit of an early run here from Etu, especially when you have the ball moving like that. There's no reason to find yourself behind that back line that early, especially when the ball has that much distance to travel. Just time your run a little bit better. It's a great switch of play. Had the North Carolina defense disjointed a little bit off of that switch, but just a little bit too ambitious in that run.
When you're attempting to achieve something with that ball over the top and there's a clear chance and you're a hair offside, or there's players on both sides of you, I think there's a lot more reason to say I've been offside 3 times today, but there's a reason for it. Forbes seeking Etu again, making that wide run outside. Biasi slipped onto Etu.
Yeah, it looked like that ball was just bouncing off the turf when he went to hit that cross there. But again, early on, it's the midfield movement for Pittsburgh right now that's proven to be the difference. Able to find those pockets and attack the wings with the overlapping runs. Having a lot of success out wide here, popping inside, getting those overlapping runners going. A lot of success early out wide here for Pittsburgh. Just the cross has to be a little bit better.
Through North Carolina, big opportunity for Shaft Brewer as a wing back. We've got Ezra Armstrong playing up that left-hand side. Is it up to them to try and close off that wide channel, or if you're North Carolina, where's the disconnect that keeps being allowed to happen?
Well, it just depends on who you have runners and who's covering for the midfield. So I think ideally you'd have the outside back covering that runner or the outside winger, but then your midfield needs to be able to cover those center forwards who are making those runs in behind. And if the outside back doesn't have any coverage to go in terms of the runners that are closer to the goal, they have to stay put until they have that coverage, because then you're just going to have open runners running through the box. So I think it's a little bit of a miscommunication, or just something that they need to figure out, that piece of who's going to go and who's going to track that runner. But right now it just kind of seems like the outside backs are staying a little bit more closer to home, and they really need their midfield to support in terms of covering those forwards that are making those runs inside the box. Or maybe it's a center back sliding over, but Pittsburgh's doing such a good job of overloading numbers that they need a little bit more support from the midfield.
Brewer, only his second start of the season, dances into the area. plowed off the ball. Play on. Injured player back behind for Pittsburgh, struggling to his feet. Maldonado. Now North Carolina will try for a spell of possession. Sent early. Snapped up by Parada. Referee's going to stop play, go check on the injured player who's got the boot off to make it Blackstock fully clear. He got dragged on the ankle. Take a look at the top of your screen for Blackstock. Top of the penalty area here.
Yeah, I noticed this early. Unfortunately for North Carolina, they weren't aware that the outside back had lost his shoe or picked up some type of foul there, a little bit of contact. They had runners there on the far post. But if you're Blackstock, there's no better way to get your point across than not having a shoe on your foot when the ref comes over to talk to you. But even on that early entry ball, that's good goalkeeping there from Parada. He noticed that there was a North Carolina runner coming to that near post, and he was able to beat that through ball to it. If not, it would have been a little bit of trouble there for the defense of Pittsburgh.
Hetsu coming from a deeper position this time. Forbes hammers the ball diagonally. Room to operate for Blackstock. Knocked away by Carrera.
That's a great switch of play there from Forbes. You can tell that's been an area of emphasis tonight for Pittsburgh. Get the ball from one side, play direct out the other, and try to create those 1v1 situations. But a good bit of goalkeeping there from Carrera. Read the cross well and able to get the parry out of harm's way.
Forbes. Ball got stripped. Conway chasing after it, scooped up, and Forbes won the ball cleanly at that. Off of Perez.
It's a good bit of recovery defending there from Forbes. I think if North Carolina was able to get that ball settled on the ground, it was bouncing off the turf a little bit. They had the runners there to create the opportunity, but again, good recovery defending from the midfielder.
So a big diagonal switch again. This time had to stays onside, but lost it to the line.
A warm welcome to the staff of Iceland Air to Pittsburgh for the first time. Starting this month, Iceland Air launched the second direct flight from Pittsburgh to Europe, heading to Reykjavik, Iceland.
Riverhounds fans, join us Saturday, June 1st, Kenardo Forbes bobblehead night. First 1,000 fans will receive a King Kenny bobblehead, presented by 84 Lumber, as the Riverhounds welcome Indy 11 to town. Get your tickets today. RMU well represented today. Top 5 mascot in the city of Pittsburgh. I'm not sure that that's all that exclusive.
I was gonna say, how many mascots does the city of Pittsburgh has before we put out that list?
I love that big goofy penguin. Iceberg.
Yeah, he's for me, that's definitely number 1.
Right?
And that's not a slight on other Pittsburgh mascots. That's that's just a nod to.
That is a fact.
That is a nod to the greatness of the penguin.
And they have to skate for that gig. Tough.
Which makes it even more impressive.
Agreed.
Fans, please remember
Stoppage here, Paco Craig attended to. You know, I don't know that. I think he gave proper credit to Paco Craig in the open, the goal that he scored against Loudoun. But I feel like saying it once and leaving it alone after that is inconclusive. The goal he scored against Loudoun was a jaw-dropping goal by any standard. And then you realize this is a center back.
Well, this is where center backs, and this is something that Paco Craig will have on his team for the rest of the season, because center backs, anytime you're dealing with crosses, they always want to be the one scoring the goal. And when you're able to do it in that type of fashion, he can hold that over North Carolina's entire roster for the whole season. It was an insanely impressive finish, the way he was able to redirect it. I think the celebration spoke for itself.
Take a look at Craig losing his footing here. And then he reaches back to his thumb. He tried to maintain his balance.
Yeah, speaking as someone who's had a lot of thumb injuries, that never feels good, especially when you're going to push yourself up, especially off that turf, because that turf is it gives a little bit different than the grass does. So I'm sure it's just bent back, and it's going to be pretty uncomfortable for a couple weeks.
Well, I think that's going to be pretty uncomfortable for the rest of the night for sure. That thing is well wrapped at this point. So Craig waits the opportunity to return, ball back in play. And he races back into the field of play. And Pittsburgh is going right into the area that he vacated, although they aren't quite able to make the best use of it. I do have an apology I need to make to another center back in North Carolina. I was in North Carolina yesterday, and Thursday for that matter, before the team left. Go call the Courage match last night. And Danny Navarro's jersey was utilized for a promotional Amazon video. It probably still smells of sunscreen, maybe of someone who hasn't done nearly enough running of late, utilizing it in such fashion. Luckily, North Carolina is not wearing their blues, and that'll get washed. But I was told that I needed to be concerned that Danny Navarro's kid had been stained beyond use tonight. Maybe that's why they're in the whites. Anywho, there's a corner for Pittsburgh.
Well, you did them a favor, because I'm sure, you know, wearing white jerseys in this type of elements might even be better.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep. If you're Forbes, who are you looking at?
Well, it'll be interesting here. They have a couple players surrounding the goalkeeper, which means they're going to try to create a little bit of havoc. But one of these three, I'd imagine that one of these three on top of the box are going to set a screen for somebody peeling off. Just a matter of who's going to be the one setting the screen, who's going to be the player opening up.
Forbes will have a chance to do it a second time, perhaps even better.
It looked like Blackstock was the free runner on that one if he was able to curl it around to the far post, but the service ended up going in near into all that traffic, which is also a good strategy when you're dealing with something like this. Makes it impossible for the goalkeeper to come out when he's dealing with that many bodies. So not a bad strategy either, to just put the ball near the box, see if they can get a flick or some type of redirect.
Forbes batted 40 yards from goal. Forbes will have another look. Overlap from Mertz, turned it down. Play side to Etu. Try and get the switch. Came elongated. Pitchforked up by Biasi. Select is the official match ball supplier of the USL Championship. Many of the elite leagues throughout Europe. Visit us.select-sport.com for the latest Select products, specials, and more. Select, the player's choice. Conway, McLaughlin. And finally, North Carolina will have a decent set piece opportunity 27 minutes into the game.
That was a good bit of hold up play there by McLaughlin. He does a good job connecting with Conway. The two of them, a little bit of a two-man show there. Able to get this opportunity for North Carolina, but we need to see a little bit more of that. Try to get the ball into these target forwards. Let them establish that possession a little bit higher up the field for you with their hold-up play. And that's how you get these types of opportunities.
Perez to take the corner. 26 games for the Hounds. Couple of goals in 2021. This snagged by Parada. You know, I'll say this for North Carolina. Here we are 27 minutes in. You had the free kick, now that corner. That's really the extent of their offense to this point. You'd say that the chance for Canardo Forbes in front of goal is a genuine opportunity. Here's Sterling chasing. Other than that, Pittsburgh hasn't been all that close either.
No, I think North Carolina, they've done a good job. We talked about it, bend but don't break. They're giving up crosses into the box, but if your center backs are up to the task, able to win those types of headers, then that's something that you're going to be okay with. Of course, they'd like to establish this possession a little bit higher up the field. I think for North Carolina, they spent so much of this first half just pinned in like this, and a lot of that is credit to the way that Pittsburgh's been able to play. But you know, through 27 minutes, 28 minutes, when you're talking about what this game has looked like, to have it at 0-0, I think that's something that North Carolina is going to be happy with.
Biasi. Barada, an unfriendly bounce. Hogan upfield. And now room to run for Griffin. 2 Riverhounds are 5 yards offside. Ball lobbed through. Did find Forbes. Flag is down. Forbes. Ball bouncing. Carrera tried to get there. Whipped across the face of goal out the other side by Etu. Kizza and Forbes in front of goal certainly had their chance to whack it home.
It was a bit of a chaotic moment there. I thought that Griffin had missed the runners early on. You saw the 2 runners go off sides, but he's able to reestablish that possession. Ends up finding Forbes, who puts a dangerous shot on the goal in front of a lot of traffic. Carrera doing a good job to get his hands down, make the save, and then fortunately for them, the rebound did not find a friendly foot of Pittsburgh, and they were able to deal with it. But again, another bend but don't break moment for North Carolina, where they dodge a little bit of a something and then able to get the ball cleared and higher up the field.
Conway intervenes. There's Parada. Let's show you chaos personified.
Yeah, I thought Griffin had the look early on, but instead he puts his foot on it, able to find Forbes on that far post. It's a good look, and it's a good job there by Carrera. I know it doesn't look like much, but there's a lot of traffic in front of him. He's able to get down and make the save, get the rebound out of harm's way, pop himself up, and make it a challenging shot there on the angle. But a good opportunity there for Pittsburgh, but the goalkeeper for North Carolina was up to the task.
Carrera on loan from FC Dallas, where he's played a bunch in League One and now MLS Next Pro with North Texas. Yet to make his MLS debut. Season-long loan with the right to recall. Forward to Etu. Drives in, got pushed off by Brewer. This will get over the line.
That's a good bit of 1v1 defending there from Brewer. Etu had his head down, had a head full of steam, but able to keep him in front of him, flick it out for a corner kick.
"36 years old last Wednesday, Bernardo Forbes. 7-time All USL. Forbes sought the back post. Samanu, which is this over him. Griffin to throw. Blackstock. Blackstock sends early. Etu waited on this, smashes toward Forbes. Circulate.
That's a great bit of build-up play out there on the right flank. 3 players forming that triangle. That's something that you practice all the time, even as a youth soccer player. When you have those 3 players in that type of triangle, quick passes will help you find that space. But you have to give credit to North Carolina's back line. They're dealing with a lot of crosses, shots from outside the box, and so far they've been up to the task. No free headers, everything's been contested. That's what you want to see out of your center backs.
Pittsburgh in 7th, North Carolina in 8th in the Eastern Conference. I don't think it's the same train line, but 2 clubs right alongside the tracks in their respective cities.
Mouth-watering Pineapple Express burger
John Bradford was part of the staff in 19, looping header that Pittsburgh sends well into the stands. And Bradford was part of Dave Sarakin's staff at North Carolina. Someone just saw their IC explode in their hands, I think. You pay a price to be part of the action. Special Riverhound Vuvuzela. Long throw into the box by Maldonado. Angling for a bit of space. Forward from Martin, out to Maldonado. Free kick, Pittsburgh.
That's a little bit better there from North Carolina, using the long throw to their advantage, able to create a little bit more chaos in the box and then find it back out to Maldonado, who took the throw. Did a good job with their spacing there, made Pittsburgh's defense chase a little bit for the first time, but absolutely a foul as McLaughlin just goes through the defender's backside. See if that builds a little bit of momentum here for North Carolina.
NCFC have grown into the game here. Kept 11 from their League One winning team. Number of all-league players. Player of the Year finalist is available off the bench tonight, Nolex Anderson. Pressure from Martin. Griffin. Etu. Brewer.
That's a little bit better from North Carolina defensively, able to set that line of confrontation higher up the field. Forces Parada, the goalkeeper for Pittsburgh, to play the ball long, able to gather the second ball. They've spent so much of this half pinned into their own defensive half, all 11 players behind the ball, that it's tough. It's tough to counter out of that. It's tough to create something offensively when you do win the ball and all your players are on your own defensive half. So a little bit better line of confrontation there from North Carolina.
Picked up by Summersall. Congrats to him. 100th regular season appearance in USL leagues. The majority of which now with North Carolina, 59 of those games, including 6 this year in the championship, the remainder in League One. Went through Tucson to Tormenta out of North Carolina FC. Through the midfield, I don't think there's anything there. The referee agrees. Samanu must have a force field around him.
That's a situation where McLaughlin, just put your foot on the ball. You're surrounded by 3 Pittsburgh defenders. You haven't been able to establish that possession. It's a good entry ball in from Martin. A little bit of awareness that you're outnumbered in a difficult situation without much support.
Checks up on the turf. Blackstock. It's off into the corner sweep, corner kick. And that's part of why they initially put him in the game over a player like Anderson, because he does have that ability to check up on a tight field, knowing that at times Pittsburgh's going to hold possession and the numbers aren't going to be good.
Yeah, I understand being ambitious as a forward, but just a little bit of awareness of what's around you and really the opportunity that you have when you do have that opportunity to run into that space.
Mertz. Ball battered down. Hogan went up for it. Mertz will have another go. In front, ball wiped away by Carrera.
Again, a good bit of goalkeeping there from Carrera. Recognizes that Pittsburgh had tons of numbers in the box. Instead of coming out to catch it, running into traffic, he makes a smart decision and just parries it out of harm's way.
Expected goals 0.86. Pittsburgh, North Carolina 0.03. Wonderful ball lays through. Kissa making a central run. Blackstock, head swiveling, leans back. Mertz returns, Blackstock up toward Kizza. Ball bounces down and kept away at the back post.
Oh, it was a phenomenal entry ball into Blackstock. I think if he's able to get it off first time, he had the runner's far post unmarked, but instead the ball checks up on the turf, or he's just not able to read it properly, had to put his foot on it and gave the North Carolina defense time to recover.
You know, you and I were just talking, not only, look, North Carolina's got maybe the most pristine playing surface in American soccer. Take that element out. How many coaches tell us every surface plays a little bit different, whether it's turf, natural grass, the ball's checking up in a way where Pittsburgh gets that benefit on that long ball forward. Biasi put under pressure. Conway pumps the brakes. Lays through the 18.
Well, and the crazy thing about turf, too, is all turf plays differently. If it's wet, the ball will skip through. If it's a little bit dry, you can see the shadows on the field. I can almost guarantee that where the sun is shining, it's going to be a little bit more dry and the ball is going to check up. But on the side where it's a little bit more shaded, then the ball, as you see it now, that it has the ability to carry a little bit quicker than it would on that natural grass. So even when you're talking about dealing with the turf and what they're dealing with tonight, there's portions of the field that will be different on how the ball is going to carry, especially when it takes those bounces.
Initially about half the field, now about a quarter of the field baking in the sun. Temps in the 80s when we kicked off tonight, this mid-May night in Pittsburgh. Biasi had at two, making a clever run. Conway has only just returned from injury.
Oh, it's a phenomenal ball from Martin.
Brilliant. Martin on to Perez. Blocked. And Kizza, the backstop for the Riverhounds. Regains his footing, he's by his lonesome, and he's won a free kick.
It's a good job there by Kizza, putting the work in as a forward to gain that ball back. And that's what we're talking about throughout the course of this game. It's a beautiful entry ball for Martin. They're able to switch that side, but because North Carolina's been defending so much and using so much energy, they aren't able to get that outside runner on the far post. Instead, it's the forwards coming across the middle where the Pittsburgh defense are able to pick them up, so there's not many options. If you have a little bit more energy, if you're not spending so much time defending, that's when that overlapping run on the outside is a wide open player. And I'm sure that's something that they want to be able to do tonight, but so much of their energy has been spent defending that it's hard for these outside backs and for these midfielders to get up and down the way that they need to have that outside outlet on the far post.
McLaughlin indicates he got hit with a wayward arm. Now, as he goes down, he's grabbing his hands. He may have had the same problem there that Paco Craig had defensively, where he tried to pick himself up off the ground at full speed and caught the turf wrong.
Yeah, it seems to be shaken up here a little bit. And sometimes when you go to leverage yourself and you push yourself up off the turf like that, yeah, it looks like on the turn, he just jammed his thumb into the turf here.
It looked like he sort of grabbed for his face, and with that arm hanging back, Masamanu looked like that could be it, but no, this looks like the turf is taking another hand.
That's tough with hand injuries. It's that initial right when it happens. That's when you feel that rush of pain, but it looks like he's doing it right now, and the training staff is going to be busy wrapping thumbs tonight for North Carolina, apparently.
Not a phrase I expected to hear tonight.
Not a phrase I expected to say.
No. Of course, look, as a goalkeeper, you have a very different position. The importance of having all available digits.
Well,
but
especially
even,
the thumb.
Yeah, no doubt. Very, the opposable thing, it's definitely an evolutionary milestone for humanity, Jeff. But even for a player out on the field player, it is still substantial, right? Having access.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're talking about a forward or a center back, like we saw earlier with Paco Craig. You need your hands because you're feeling where the defenders are, you're feeling where the forward is. And of course, sometimes you don't want to make it obvious, but everybody's always grabbing. You're grabbing onto jerseys, you're grabbing onto different things just to make sure that you can track that runner, or, you know, in the terms of a forward, you might be grabbing onto that center back, trying to create space for yourself. So it's not as important as it is for goalkeepers, but it is an important part of, especially when you're talking about center backs and forwards, in terms of their movements and trying to create a little bit of space for themselves.
You bringing a measure of Darwinism into the broadcast. The value of an opposable thumb. This is a free kick.
Yeah, it's a tough challenge there. Both players going for the ball. Looks like Etu got the worst of it. As we see here, the ball bouncing up. Martin and Etu making the effort for it. Martin lowers his shoulder and goes through the leg. Etu left his leg out there. Yeah, it's a tough challenge. He popped up okay, everything's okay, but anytime you have that leg out there and a player's coming through.
Out to Forbes. Ball knocked away, cleared further, all the way down. This will find its way through. A real chance in front, Kizza! Right before halftime. Finally, they found the answer to unlock North Carolina. The Hounds lead on home ground.
And this whole half has really been building to this moment. It comes off of a little bit of a junk ball here in the midfield, but Griffin able to pick it up, and it's Blackstock making that run in behind. And just phenomenal patience there from Blackstock, who had the opportunity to go to goal. As we see Griffin taking the space in the midfield. The ball pops through. Blackstock was making the run. A bit of it a fortuitous bounce to Blackstock, and instead of taking the opportunity, he picks his head up, sees his running mate Kizza, who finds his space in behind, and you're not going to get an easier goal than that. And they've really been building to this moment. Pittsburgh has been the better of play throughout this first half, and now they're finally rewarded with that goal. Good build-up play in the midfield there with Griffin getting the ball. Pops through to Blackstock, who's been making those runs all day behind that back line. Good patience, finds his running mate, taps it in, and a well-deserved 1-0 lead here for Pittsburgh as the first half begins to close itself out.
Third goal of the year for Kizza, and Blackstock, for all the work he's done out wide and all the service he's provided, the assist he richly deserves. 2 added minutes at the end of the half.
And if you're North Carolina in this situation, the ball takes an awkward bounce, and that's how the ball ends up at Blackstock's feet. He's been making those runs all night. He's been behind this back line from the first minute of the game. A little bit of an unfortunate bounce there, but I really feel like that's a well-deserved goal for Pittsburgh. They've been working to this moment all half.
Driven away by Asamanu. That is a silly free kick to concede with so much support around Griffin.
Yeah, especially because Martin was working his way backwards. Really no need to foul there, especially this late in the first half. North Carolina hasn't had much joy at all, and now you give up this dangerous set-piece opportunity after scoring that big-time goal.
Maldonado, former All-League One player out of San Antonio. There's the roll of Swiss Army knife tonight. North Carolina find one before the break. Maldonado hangs it up. Ball bounces down. Lifted back toward goal. An overhead kick that lands right at Barada. That is a nervy moment for the Hounds right before the halftime whistle.
Yeah, Parata's done a good job coming off his line and covering these crosses tonight. It should have been a bit of an easy one there. Maybe he took his eyes off of it, looking for a little bit of contact. Fortunately for Pittsburgh, the ball just falls right back into Parata's hand after the attempted bicycle kick.
Halftime, and Pittsburgh, to your point, a deserved 1-0 lead.
I've been really impressed with Pittsburgh in this first half, doing a good job of really just putting the pressure on North Carolina for the entire half. But again, North Carolina did a good job bending but not breaking all the way up to the 42nd minute. And now we'll see what they have in the second half. They'll have to come out with a little bit more offensive firepower.
Coming up at halftime, a little bit more about Patrick Hogan. We'll get you caught up on the upcoming round of 16 in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. The scores around the league. Tonight's game presented by Allegheny Health Network. The Riverhounds find their goal in the 44th. Kizza as the Hounds up by 1.
Hey, you dropped your PA Lottery's new instant $1 million jackpot. It's go time. Coming through. Wow. Whoa. Ooh. You dropped this.
Wow, thanks.
You never know, it could be the big prize. Well, gotta scoot. Keep on scratching.
Did we just get hustled?
There's no way they were 70.
Interesting. It's both an electric and a gas car.
Yep.
Quite the paradox.
The first ever Lexus RX plug-in hybrid. Electric for short trips, gas for long. It really is both.
Get special offers on select Lexus RX models.
Halftime is presented by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of Pittsburgh Riverhounds SC. The Riverhounds have a 1-0 lead over North Carolina FC at the break. Patrick Hogan always dreamed of being a professional soccer player. He achieved that in Charleston in 2023. He found his way to a Riverhounds combine that set up a very dynamic future in the Steel City.
Yeah, I mean, we got to stay with it. We got to keep improving. You know, we're not where we want to be right now in terms of in the table and, you know, how we're playing, but we've been getting better every week, and so we just need to keep pushing and keep adding on to the momentum that we've already carried the last couple games. Yeah, it's huge. You know, when we score the first goal, we usually can, you know, solidify the rest of the game at least. So, you know, for us, it's key getting the first goal and then just keep going on the attack. You know, we have a lot of great attackers, and we just got to get them in the right areas and, you know, feed them the ball so they can, you know, do what they do best. Yes, absolutely. You know, we had such a strong home record last year, and, you know, we didn't start off, you know, the hottest at home this year. So, like, it's nice that, you know, we have a couple home games here that we can, you know, solidify that record again and solidify the home fortress with the amazing Steel Army and the rest of the fans.
You heard it from the man himself. Best record in the league at home last year. Pittsburgh off to a good start through 45. Riverhounds lead North Carolina 1-0 at the break. Halftime is presented by Allegheny Health Network.
Still get it done.
When termites show up, so do we. Terminix it.
Traeger up over the top. Tristan Traeger. It's in.
Opportunity here. The hit and a goal.
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
They're hungry for the women's game. They want to see women's soccer. They want to play women's soccer, and that's what we're building at the USL.
You can see it in my eyes, only want the best. Maybe grinding every night, won't settle for less. Got me looking to the sky, got me feeling blessed. Got this fire burning up inside of my chest. Burning up inside of my chest. Got this fire burning up inside of my chest.
Looks great.
When termites show up, so do we. Terminix it.
We saw the signs early.
Here come a couple of changes here.
Really intelligent player, feels the game, aware.
Dragicic wins the ball right back for Pittsburgh.
Always had a work ethic about soccer and just always had a passion.
Dragicic. Headed centrally, shot their spills, but it's cleared off the line.
Nate Dragicic, number 17 for the pro team from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and played 11 years in the Riverhounds Academy.
There goes the Clipper along the Monongahela here in Pittsburgh. 1-0 Riverhounds. Halftime presented by Allegheny Health Network, the official medical provider of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds Soccer Club. Show you news and notes from the championship and beyond. The U.S. Open Cup sees 9 championship clubs competing into the round of 16, which kicks off on Tuesday night. Charleston and Sacramento remain unbeaten through their first 10 games. They lead the East and the West, respectively. Meanwhile, Aiden Stanley, St. Louis native, goes up to Indy 11. A double assist game, first of his career, lands him Player of the Week. Let's get you caught up on those Open Cup matchups. The San Jose-Sacramento games got the geographic excitement. Loudoun going all the way to LAFC doesn't. Only Division III team remaining, NYCFC 2. Tulsa and Kansas City has its own enticement. I mean, the game of the night's obvious.
Yeah, for me, I really like this matchup between Charleston and Atlanta. Atlanta not doing too well in league play in MLS this year, so you know that they're going to send a heavy-hitting lineup, and Charleston is just in incredible form. I really looking forward to this one, seeing what Charleston's able to do against a team like Atlanta on this Tuesday night. But like you said, across the board, just great matchups, especially when you're looking at California with Sacramento and San Jose. And then come Wednesday night, for me, the matchup of the night is Tampa Bay versus FC Dallas. Again, you have an FC Dallas team who's not doing too well in league play. I'm sure that they'd like to be doing better up there in the MLS, but when you have a team like the Rowdies. They'll be hosting FC Dallas with a tremendous opportunity to take on an MLS side who will be throwing a serious lineup out for the Open Cup in the round of 16.
Detroit ousted Houston in the last round as well. Now take a look around the league. Wednesday night, Charleston, a vital win over Birmingham to keep that unbeaten run alive. Indy looks like they've caught fire in Colorado Springs yesterday. 3-1 win over Rhode Island moves them in the right direction up the Western Conference table.
Yeah, a couple of similar scorelines here with Loudoun and Monterey Bay. Loudoun leading 1-0, and the Tampa Bay Rowdies with that 1-0 lead. But like you said, Indy 11, they've been getting hot as of late. That 2-0 lead against Hartford, it's a good scoreline for them heading into halftime.
And also all the best to Brian Clairhout. He was relieved of his duties after that loss with El Paso. Later tonight, Golazo Network's got the coverage on the CBS Sports app. Phoenix and Miami. Also Las Vegas meets Louisville in the desert. 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Orange County and Oakland, California battle all its own. The championship as well. Halftime has been presented by Allegheny Health Network. Thank goodness they gave away so many vuvuzelas. That is what we were all looking forward to tonight. Hounds by 1 at the break.
At AHN, good heart care starts before you're just not feeling right. Before you say, it'll go away on its own. Before it doesn't. Because before an emergency, there's time to stop heart problems with a simple preventative heart check. At AHN, we see you.
Pittsburgh is our home. Check in with Thermo Twin. We are employee owned. Check in with Thermo Twin. Check in. Check in. Check in. Check in. Check in with Thermo Twin.
Check in with Thermo Twin for up to 25% off and 24 months free financing.
Check in with Thermo Twin.
Unique style, cutting-edge innovation, and thoughtful details. Inspired by you. From the brand that delivers amazing ownership experiences. This is the first ever all-electric RZ. This is Lexus. Electrified.
Get special offers on select Lexus RZ models.
Riverhounds retake the field. They've got the lead in tow. 1-0 over North Carolina. Halftime has been presented by the Allegheny Health Network. Mike and Jeff, let's walk you through the first half highlights. We start in merely the 8th minute of play. Pittsburgh essentially held the ball for 27 minutes without a realistic North Carolina chance. They did so much work in the wide areas.
They did. They've had a lot of success out wide, especially with Blackstock running this right flank. Does a good job taking his defender on 1v1 here and finds Forbes wide open in front of the net. Unfortunately, he's not able to redirect it into the back of the goal. But again, you see this wide play. It's been a weapon for Pittsburgh all first half long. Opportunities out wide, taking your defenders on 1v1. A good driven ball here across the box from Blackstock again. But Carrera was up to the task on this one. But again, it just crosses into the box, getting numbers up high for Pittsburgh, trying to make the most of these opportunities. They were testing Carrera all first half. The ball bouncing around here. And up until that point, it really looked like North Carolina was in bend but don't break mode. And it took a little bit of a fortuitous bounce here as Griffin brings the ball up to the midfield. A redirect, it looked like it might have been off of Sterling's foot, finds Blackstock in behind, who picks his head up and finds the wide open Kizza, who's there for the early tap. And a really well-deserved goal here for Pittsburgh. They were working all half, pretty much living in North Carolina's defensive half. So it's a well-earned goal here from Kizza and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
First half highlights were brought to you by Corona. Here's a look at your halftime stats, and it shows Pittsburgh in command of this game. 60% of the ball, and 3 of the 4 shots on target belong to the home team tonight.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought that Pittsburgh's possession would have been a little bit higher there. North Carolina really wasn't able to establish much of that possession in the first half, but in order for things to change, North Carolina is going to have to get the ball into Pittsburgh's half and try to establish some form of possession and put Pittsburgh's defense under a little bit of uncomfortable situations where in the first half they were able to keep everything right in front of them.
Possession from about the half-hour mark onward was even, according to Opta, and that's where that number started to gradually leak down. We were in the high 60s, Pittsburgh possession in that first half hour.
I think part of this for North Carolina too will try to find these target forwards, a little bit of better hold-up play.
That's a terrible giveaway. Lost it to the turf monster. Sterling undeterred. Well, this is a rather awkwardly stagnant start. Out wide to Blackstock. Blackstock playing in front, ricochets around and pinballs into the grasp of North Carolina. Armstrong pumps the brakes.
Again, you see it early, using the width, especially on this right side. Blackstock's been running up and down this line all night long, able to find that space in behind. He's put in multiple crosses as well. North Carolina going to have to do a better job here, especially not losing the ball in those cheap turnovers, but just eliminating this many looks. It's a lot to ask of your backline to defend this many crosses.
Blackstock, Mertz may have been better not to touch it, but then we would have been robbed of the skill session he blessed us with after. Grandstand just about packed tonight for this game. Brewer on the move for North Carolina. It slips a ball too far.
I love that from Brewer, though. He has the opportunity to put his head down and breaks the lines himself. Sometimes that's the best option when you don't have that midfield support or you're not able to break through that initial line of pressure. If you have a player who's skillful on the ball, who has that type of speed, the best option could be to just do it yourself. It doesn't come off there in the end, but I like that attacking presence there from Brewer.
Runs all the way down to Carrera. If you can't watch the match, turn on SiriusXM FC channel 157. It's North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, plus your live matches from the USL, MLS, Premier League, and more, all on SiriusXM 157, the new SiriusXM app.
And everything's just been a little bit off for North Carolina in this one. As you see there, the touch goes out of bounds. He had a lot of space there on that right side. If he was able to settle that ball, no pressure on him at all. You've seen a couple times too where the ball's checked up and there hasn't been a lot of pressure, but the ball turns over. Going to need to clean those things up here in the second half if North Carolina wants to have a chance to get back into this one.
Tough slide, sees it upfield to Sterling through Mertz and now Griffin. Samanu. Gorgeous night in Pittsburgh. This is an idyllic viewpoint tonight.
It's such a beautiful backdrop too.
Temps have dropped into the mid-70s, made for perfect experience. They're just watch the city or watch the game. Your choice, really. Header snap back to Carrera.
That ball from Carrera there, if you're a goalkeeper and you're trying to play that outside back, that's a ball that you have to overhit. You can't underhit that ball because in a lot of situations your team is spread out and then Pittsburgh's able to regain that possession and come right back down. It didn't cost them on that when they were able to head the ball back to the goalkeeper, but if you're a young goalkeeper listening to this one, when you play those outside backs, it's always better to err by overhitting. No one's going to be too upset if you take that risk and play it out of bounds.
It's Blackstock this time. Runs afoul of the offside flag.
That's really been the main thing holding the wingers back tonight for Pittsburgh. There's been 3 or 4 times now where their runs have just been a little bit too early. They have tons of space in behind and plenty of speed to catch up to the ball. Just time to run a little bit better, and we're looking at 3 or 4 more opportunities on goal.
Taken away by Griffin. Griffin trying to chip the keeper. Griffin saw that from 40 yards out and thought he'd have a go at the highlight of the year for the Hounds.
I love the idea here. Griffin's been doing a good job in that midfield, winning these battles. He sees the goalkeeper out, picks his head up, and just over hits it. Didn't get quite enough dip onto that one, but I love the idea. You see the goalkeeper out, you have space to hit it, have a go.
I feel like you just betrayed the goalkeeper union.
I mean, listen, there's certain situations where if you see a goalkeeper out like that, there's no fault to Carrera, but have a go, why not?
He certainly did, and now Mertz. Ball drops right into the pocket for Pittsburgh again. Racing down the line, service toward Kizza. Perez. Samanu. The wiggle free. Ball back down the left-hand side. That's too far. Racing Junior Etu. USL Championship is on CBS Sports. The ESPN platforms all season long. You can catch live matches and expert analysis every day. The CBS Sports Golasso Network and ESPN Plus. Go to USLChampionship.com for the complete USL TV listings, including the Wednesday, May 29th match on CBS Sports Network. Monterey will see the Eastern Conference leader Charleston on Wednesday night. It's 10 days away, the next national TV appearance for the league. Monterey Bay took San Jose to the limit in the Open Cup. Charleston will have their shot against Atlanta. I'm really intrigued to see how that game plays out, in part because I don't know that Yorgos Yakimakis or Thiago Almada were going to go play in Charleston. What I do know is the guys that would have been playing had to play against Nashville today. Injuries can make for weird bedfellows. Top of the 18, ball slips through for Conway. This will be a corner. It did take a deflection and a corner to North Carolina.
And these are situations where just the flow of the game, North Carolina hasn't been able to establish that type of rhythm in possession. So these set pieces are opportunities that they need to start making the most of, at least threatening the goalkeeper a little bit more. As we see the replay here, Conway doing a good job driving at that back line, able to get the corner kick. And that's really the first combination play that we've seen tonight from McLaughlin and Conway up top. But for me, making the most of these set pieces, we saw a ball dropped earlier there by Peralta. Could have been something, but put the ball into the mix, try to create a little bit of chaos, because so far the possession hasn't been there. So it's going to need to come from something like this. Maybe someone like Paco Craig getting on the end of it again.
Ball the near post, sent away over Martin. Side from Maldonado. Now he's got some ground to cover. Forbes. That does find its way through. Kizza. Misplayed by North Carolina to Kizza's benefit again. Griffin.
He's been so steady in the midfield tonight, cleaning up all those balls.
Griffin.
Unfortunate on the cross there, but he's been so steady coming out of that midfield. Any opportunity that North Carolina's had to counter or regain that possession, Griffin's been there to put out every single fire. It's a good bit of skill there. Now the key is, can they come out the other side?
He got it there, but there's Pittsburgh, right? Shifting,
yeah,
always turned on.
Everything just needs to be a little bit quicker. when you have the opportunity to play out the other side, especially with a team like Pittsburgh.
That was a great first touch. McLaughlin lost at his feet. Found Perez, though. Perez! That's as good chance as North Carolina's had.
And McLaughlin's been busy here in the early goings of the second half. And sometimes when you're not able to get that ball over the top as a forward, you have to come back and get it yourself. It's a good bit of skill. It's his first touch that really set him up, and then Perez just hits it off the volley because the ball's bouncing here, gets underneath of it a little bit too much, trying to find that near post, but a little bit better there, especially trying to involve these target forwards for North Carolina. We need to see more of that in the second half. Get the ball higher up the field, get your runners going, try to find that space so that you're not dealing with Pittsburgh's block all the time.
Perez, the Parisian, in his return to the Steel City tonight. Well, we have a moment. We can tell you that eFootball 2024 is here. Live your dream, rep your team, and play as your favorite USL Championship club. eFootball is free to play. Download now. Mertz, Sterling, too far, out over the paint. By the way, a couple other results. Riley Bidwa, the opening goal, 1-0, early second half. Loudon over Monterey Bay. Penalty in the 3rd minute for Hartford. Jack Blake cashes in. Ben Ofemu scores 3rd minute of first half stoppage, 2-0 Indy over Hartford. Then down at Al Lang, it's now 3 for the Rowdies over FC Tulsa. Arteaga, Jennings, and Forrest Lasso. Jennings a goal and an assist tonight.
He's had a great start to the season down there for Tampa Bay.
Ooh. He and Arteaga, they've been great. That's why I've never been that worried. Yeah, I know new manager in, but I mean, you've got two guys that are on pace to go grab 15 goals and 5 to 10 assists. I mean, that's nuts. This comes all the way back to Parada. You know, you and I were chatting a little bit with Bob Lilly, right? And I think that's one of the common threads between these teams. North Carolina coming from League One. Of course, they see value in players that come from League One, from other leagues. And they've supplemented that with guys like Colin Martin, certainly, to bring along championship experience and create a really good sort of blended group. Pittsburgh does that every single year, whether it's Next Pro, League One, keeping that main core, Mertz, Griffin, Forbes, together.
Well, I think finding the right balance, right? You need to have that leadership, you need to have that experience, people that have logged in a lot of minutes in the league. But then you balance that with the young players who bring that sense of energy, that sense of youth, and then once they're into your system.
Ball prodded in behind, header's in! Evan Conway, a tremendous headed goal for North Carolina. They've grabbed the equalizer on the road.
Man, are you kidding me? North Carolina, what a goal this is here from Conway. It's this early service that does it. Perez puts his head down, he has tons of space, plays this ball in, puts it on a platter for Conway, who's able to head the ball over the outstretched arms of Peralta, found his space in between the Pittsburgh center backs, and seemingly out of nothing, North Carolina able to get themselves back in this game with a big-time, much-needed goal.
Evan Conway, first of the year.
North Carolina goal.
Really came out of nothing there. Perez had tons of space. He was about 40 yards out when he played that ball. Conway able to occupy that space right in between the Pittsburgh center backs. And here goes North Carolina again.
Ball blasted, takes a deflection from McLaughlin, lands with Parada.
And on the flip side, if you're Pittsburgh, you've been dealing with this all night. You've been dealing with different things. You've had control of the ball. And all it takes sometimes is an early service, one forward in between two center backs, maybe a little bit of a lackadaisical defending there where he was able to find that space, but credit to Conway, who's able to rise up and perfectly redirect that header.
Giving away to Mertz. Back through Griffin. Sean Suber is waiting to come in. Grabbed by Armstrong. Bradley Sample set to enter the game as well for Pittsburgh. They'll be making a double sub in a moment. Out away by Hogan. By the way, a cool inclusion on the bench tonight. The championship rules now allow any player on an academy deal. This over the top, comes all the way to Parada. Be eligible for one of 2 slots on the bench for home teams. Do not count against the 18. So home teams have potentially as many as 20 eligible players on a given day. Pablo Linzoen, Pittsburgh native out of Fox Chapel High School, signed to an academy deal yesterday, is available tonight. Although the longer this game remains tight, the less likely he'll get his pro debut this evening.
I really love that rule from the USL. Gives academy players the opportunity to get involved, be on the bench, find minutes. And those are what you need when you're talking about developing youth. It's all about getting that type of experience, being around the group, knowing what it's like on game days, getting the opportunity to play. It goes such a long way when you're talking about the youth development in this country as well.
And aren't these leagues all trying to find an edge, a unique way of going about it? If you look at MLS, they've changed the substitution rules, going down with an injury, when you're allowed back in the game. In the case of the championship, the adjustments to the academy rules and usage for home teams. Going next pro, it's penalties, no game ends in a tie. So everyone's sort of trying to find their own unique twist on it. Here comes the double sub we mentioned. So Asamanu comes off and Suber comes in off the bench after 60 minutes.
Coming out of the match, number 28, Osumanu. And checking in.
Osumanu was on a yellow card. Suber spent the last couple of years in Huntsville. Kizza's night is done. That's a really intriguing change. They bring in the holding midfielder Sample and bring off Kizza, who scored the initial go-ahead goal in the 44th. Evan Conway equalizing in the 58th. Long for Mertz. Sample played it through. Sterling with a little gallop wins a corner.
That's a great first touch from the substitute Sample there. Able to put the ball in behind. I really think Sterling's done a good job tonight. He hasn't showed up on the score sheet, but he's been running these center backs left to right. Big physical presence, able to find that space behind and draw the corner kick for his team. Good response here from Pittsburgh, responding to that goal that came against nothing. Really came against a run of play. Doing a good job putting their foot on the ball.
Mertz, headers over. Pat Hogan, so much power on that, rising over the top of a defender.
Well, he really got the timing right on this one, and as a center back, it's all about getting that timing right, trying to get your head on it. He has the power there, but in that one, you got to head the ball down as best as you can. I understand it's hard, you're flying, you're going over the back of Paco Craig. The timing was right, just need that ball to be headed down, put it on frame, make the goalkeeper make a save.
Biasi. Sample. Sterling the foul. Sterling's such an interesting case, right? You think of another striker from Tottenham who got that first taste of the first team that never quite got back in Cameron Lancaster. Sterling really plied his trade epically at the League One level. This cut right out in front of Mertz. Asking some questions of Carrera to release. That's Suber. Did win the header. It's a clear potential head injury. Now they stop play. And that's Perez. Used to be the envy of the fans here. A little less so now.
Yeah, it's a tough task for Perez, battling against the center backs in terms of winning a header. Ended up catching the worst of this one. Looks like a little bit of a push in the back. I didn't see too much head contact, but anytime that a player's holding their head, you got to call it, stop the game, make sure that everybody's okay, go through the right protocols.
Perez is finding out what it's like to be heckled by Yinzers.
It's a little bit different when you're playing for the other side.
Amazing how a piece of fabric really makes you feel differently about a guy. I'm confident he's more excited to get away from that grandstand than he is to get back into the game.
Yeah, it was a quick sprint in. It was a quick sprint in from that sideline from Perez. Get back to safe ground in the middle of the field.
Ball threaded ahead. Of course, Perez with that magic peg has already assisted the equalizer. He has a chance to go really make his mark. Yellow card shown here to Etu.
Etu doesn't like it, but I agree with this decision from the referee. She showed a yellow card early in the game for the same type of challenge. And that's the type of consistency that you want to see from the referee. He's late to that one. Trail leg, clear foul. Show the yellow card the same way you did in the first half. As we get a look at the replay here, just very late to that challenge. It's a dangerous situation for both players.
Well, it turns out this is the only competitive game in the early window in the championship tonight. Khalil El-Medkar just scored for Loudoun. They're up 2-0 on Monterey Bay. Indy's now up 4-0 on Hartford. Blake, Ofemu, Martinez, and Williams scoring for Indy 11. And the Rowdies have opened up a 4-goal advantage now as Arteaga scored a penalty going into halftime. Complete his brace against FC Tulsa. Now this, an enticing move for North Carolina. You know, when you talk to John Bradford, there's an element of you can't score the 6-goal shot. He wishes he was on 25 goals at this point. That's just sort of how Olex Anderson is wired. But he's going to come into this game and provide an immediate shot of adrenaline, replacing McLaughlin, who did a lot of yeoman's work.
Yeah, I love what Anderson brings to this lineup, and he's a player that's used to scoring goals, so he's dealing with a bit of frustration. But with Anderson, you have a player who's able to provide that hold-up play, but also attack that space behind the back line. With Anderson coming into the game, I wouldn't be surprised if North Carolina decides to play a little bit more direct.
Long throw into the box. Skewed into the air, smashed down toward Martin. Sample got a piece. Maldonado running for it. Suber ensures it's out.
But I thought McLaughlin did a really good job, especially in the second half. He brought a little bit of energy, decided he wanted to come back and check to the ball a little bit more, provide that hold-up play, a little bit more combinations. And as the game continues to progress, North Carolina finds himself in a good spot.
Ball bouncing into the hands. Parada. Became a bit nerve-wracking.
That long throw has been a weapon for North Carolina tonight. 3 or 4 different opportunities where it's just been put into the box. A little bit chaotic there from the Pittsburgh defense.
Catch the Riverhounds on the road as they take on Memphis 901 FC next Saturday.
Ball back to Mertz. That didn't play out.
At 8:30 p.m. Tune in to Sportsnet Pittsburgh for all the action.
Driving in, ball across, Anderson. He got leveled at the end. Shifted all his weight to try and whisk that on target. It finds its way out to the near touch line.
It's a good run here from Brewer. He's able to find that space, something he hasn't had much of in this game. It's a good near post run by Anderson. Unfortunately, he's not able to redirect that one on goal, but occupying that near post space. And that's really the first time that we've seen Brewer having the ability to get up and down that right sideline and create that space for himself and put a dangerous ball into the box.
Another long throw from Maldonado. Martin sends it with a header off target. So North Carolina really finding their way. Conway, who scored with his head in the 58th, not far off the mark here either.
Well, I know it's the old cliche saying that goals change games, but when you look about the flow of this game, up until North Carolina's goal, they really haven't had much joy in the offensive half. But ever since that goal, they've been able to get their foot on the ball, able to get these runners in behind, more dangerous crosses inside the box. And if you're Pittsburgh, it's all about how's your response. You were dominating the game for about 60 minutes. You give up a goal seemingly out of nothing, and really haven't been able to find their footing since.
Mertz. Good read by Armstrong. A whistle to be had there on Hogan. Emily Simon looks on, play on, Somersault out the other side. That just got by Mertz. He is constricting all the passing lanes right now. Craig, Armstrong, scooped up by Mertz. Martin retains. Brewer. Three losses from 3 games on the road. John Bradford made it abundantly clear. Their goal here is to prove they can, in fact, win on the road. And if they do it in Pittsburgh, what a statement that would be. They look for their 3rd win of the season, one that could catapult them a couple spots, including above the Riverhounds in the standings.
There's a lot of game left to go here, but you talk about it. We spoke about it in the first half, how North Carolina was really playing a bend but don't break type of defense, giving up crosses, trying to give up shots outside the box. They gave up the goal on a little bit of a flick, a little bit of a redirect, unfortunate bounce, but just keep your team in it. That's the name of the game when you're winning on the road or trying to get results on the road. Do what you can to keep your team in it. Try to find a goal. They've been able to do that, and now they're the better on the ball. They have a little bit more of the possession.
Griffin.
They just really seem to be on the front foot now.
Martin, good ball. Perez, retained through the challenge of Biasi. Etu put under pressure, getting toward the end line. Sure looked like it got out over the paint. The AR disagrees.
Yeah, I'd like to see in that situation, when you get that deep, you're in a 2v1 situation, 2 Pittsburgh defenders, put your foot on the ball, bring it back around. Martin and Perez did a good job combining in the midfield to get it out to that side. There's nothing wrong with putting your foot on it, bringing it back around and trying to get out the other side.
Mertz, Sample, Griffin. Centrally, Somersault.
Next chance.
Stoppage will come with a substitution here with 15 minutes left. And this is a player who can come in and flip the game on its head. Rodrigo da Costa off the bench for North Carolina. A goal, couple of assists in 713 minutes on the year, replaces Summersall. His 100th appearance in a USL League concludes.
And this is the spot you want to be in on the road if you're North Carolina. You have weapons on the bench. You just saw Anderson enter the game. He almost had an opportunity on the near post. DaCosta's going to step a little bit higher as they're trying to search that goal and take all 3 points on the road.
Maldonado can put this right on the spot. He nearly did. Martin Need on the wrong side of DaCosta. So right, Summersall primarily sitting deeper. DaCosta, the guy you bring in to orchestrate that final pass.
Yeah, I think he'll step a little bit higher into this space. Try to find the ball, try to find those balls in behind to the runners like Anderson. But it's an aggressive substitute, which I enjoy from North Carolina. They came here, they want to get all 3 points. They were very clear of that message. A little bit of fresh legs injected into that midfield, see if he can penetrate that back line.
Martin wanted to play. The manager has other ideas. Pittsburgh making 2 changes. So Aiden O'Toole comes on, Danny Rivera comes on. That's Forbes and Mertz checking out. Subs 3 and 4. They still have that 1 moment remaining to make the 5th change.
Especially in the first half, I think both players did a good job of occupying that midfield spot, but really doing a good job getting themselves involved in the attack. Maybe a little bit of tired leg sub here. See if these 2 substitutes can come on and make that same type of impact that those guys had in the first half.
Away by Biasi. Takes it back to Parada. Riverhounds fans, join us Saturday, June 1st, Canardo Forbes bobblehead night. First 1,000 fans at Highmark Stadium receive a Canardo Forbes bobblehead giveaway presented by 84 Lumber. As the Riverhounds welcome Indy 11 to town. Get your tickets today. And a scorching Indy side at that. Mentioned it earlier, 4-0. That came in the 76th minute at the Mike in Indianapolis over Hartford tonight. This is a throw for North Carolina.
Pittsburgh was doing such a good job in the first half of getting their outside wingers involved in the game. It's something that we haven't seen much here in the second half. North Carolina doing a better job of neutralizing and being aware of it, but also just being on the ball makes such a big difference. Instead, we've seen the wingbacks from North Carolina able to occupy that space, making the Pittsburgh wingbacks defend a lot more than they had to in the first half.
Armstrong chopped down by Suber. To your point, there's the wingback well into the attacking half.
Yeah, that was something that we didn't see much of at all. If we saw it at all in the first half, it was really on the flip side. It was Pittsburgh who was able to get those numbers up high, but as this game has gone on, Pittsburgh having to play a little bit more defensively as we get ready here for another long throw in, another dangerous opportunity.
Maldonado. Awkward header. That's far less awkward from Danny Rivera. Chance to serve from a long way out. Hangs in the air. Ball knocked back across. Got by Conway.
There fewer numbers there on the far post. That's that type of ball that needs to be a little bit more driven. If that ball is driven to the weapons on the far post, it'll get there instead of the center backs have the opportunity to clear it out because it's a ball just hanging up in the air like that. Try to drive it. Really step your foot into it. Put your laces into it. Drive that ball to the far post and connect with those players who are open back there.
Armstrong, DaCosta. Arms extended to Natalie Simon. Rodrigo, you just got here. Didn't like the push he got from Blackstock. Armstrong, first touch got away.
Yeah, sometimes it's tough. You haven't felt that first knock. That's been going on all game, though. Referee doing a good job keeping the whistle down, letting them play on from that one.
Just goes over, has a quick word with Blackstock. There's something to be said. Not every whistle or card is necessary to keep a game in check. A great referee manages the game in a number of ways. This into the penalty area. Leaning back, blasted. Rada sent it away. Blackstock put his head in harm's way. Sample got it out.
A really great individual effort there from Anderson, able to create his own space, finds it on his left foot, has an absolute rip on goal, but Parada was up to the task. A good job there from Anderson, creating that space for himself in a ton of traffic.
And that's why you want to see him in the game, right? He's got that unique quality.
He does. There's something about players that just know how to score goals. There were 3 Pittsburgh defenders around him. The ball's bouncing. He's able to control that first touch, create that space, and really force Peralta into the first big save that we've had to see for him throughout the course of this game.
Oh, look at Anderson weaving and making his own luck.
As we see here, the ball comes in, he goes to the right foot, but instead decides to pull it back out. He has just the slightest bit of space there, puts his head down, but Peralta is up to the task. It's a good job there by the goalkeeper, staying alert and having the angles covered.
33 games in all competitions for Anderson in League One last year, regular season playoffs, that is. 23 goal contributions, 23, 17 of which were goals.
5,113. We thank each and every one of you for attending tonight's game.
They've announced a sellout, 5,113 at Highmark. That was not intended to be a throw-in. Maldonado walks over here. All the attention went one way. That's intelligent. Armstrong up by Sample. Armstrong, watch out. Armstrong knocked it down again. Now the whistle's gone.
They've been doing these long throw-ins all night, and there you have the opportunity. Armstrong checks back to receive the ball. They really had a 2v1 situation there on the flank with all the numbers up. Instead, Armstrong elects to play that early service in, but anytime you have overloaded on the flanks, especially with all your center backs up, all the big boys up in the box, try to use that 2v1 to your advantage. It doesn't need to be an early service on that one because that's what Pittsburgh's defense was set up for. Maybe if they have another look, they'll handle that one a little bit differently, give themselves a better opportunity.
Hand went up immediately. Paco Craig knows what he's done. He's opened the door here to a set piece. So Forbes is off the field. He had taken the majority of the set pieces to this point. Mertz had taken a number as well from the other side. He's off the field as well, so it'll be Sample. Goal here in front of the Paul Child stand. Have all the makings of a late winner for Pittsburgh. Natalie Simon convinced that she's done all the talking she needs to do. Little set piece magic perhaps. Sample. It's punched away. Sample have a chance at a better effort this time around. Squares to the top of the 18. Ball ricocheting around. Comes up top. Got by Griffin. Here comes DaCosta. Tough tackle. One that's going to come with a card. Sample felt he got enough of the ball not to warrant a foul at all.
I really felt like if North Carolina would have played this ball early off the corner kick, they had the numbers to attack. Instead, it goes a little bit slower here. Conway doing a good job chasing that ball down. And Sample, he ends up getting the ball, but he gets all body before he does. Conway able to draw that foul, and again, it's another dangerous set-piece opportunity for this North Carolina team. Pittsburgh's been dealing with them all night long. See if we can get a good service here in behind that back line for another type of flick like we saw in that goal.
Set piece now for North Carolina. Flick on header. It's a good leading touch into the corner. Maybe there's more to be had here on the recycled effort. Conway dancing. Got by Sample. He's not going to get by Aiden O'Toole.
Yeah, too many Pittsburgh defenders there for that one. Good 2v1 defending there from Pittsburgh, not to give up that opportunity to Conway, but it was a good attempt at hold-up play. He tried to find himself down that baseline. Unfortunately, ended up picking up the foul.
For O'Toole down to Langston Blackstock. Typically is the one on the receiving end of that ball, not the one sending it.
Yeah, that would have been a pretty big switch. That type of ball you need to put to the corner flag. Let your own player run underneath of it. It's a tough ball though.
Anderson shrugs off Griffin. Conway. Martin got knocked from the side, lost it to Sterling.
Good job there from the target forward coming back and helping out his defense.
Blackstock centrally, appeal for handball. It was, yes, handball. That's Perez. Ball inward, plenty of contact. That is a Pittsburgh foul. Goes against Sterling. That probably deserves a look or two.
It's a bit of an awkward play here. The ball is driven low. The North Carolina defender opts to go with the diving header, and Sterling's making a play on the ball. Ultimately, the foul call was on Sterling, but for me, that looked like that was really just a play that should keep playing on. The defender opts to go low with his head. Sterling trying to make an attempt on the ball.
Good to see him make his way over. See Bryce Washington up.
Those are tough situations for forwards. Defender opts to go with the header. Forward trying to make a play on the ball.
And so often it feels like someone's on the ground. There needs to be a whistle one way or the other.
Yeah, I really feel like both players are making an attempt. I didn't think Sterling's foot was too high. I really think that foul call was just a byproduct of what happened in terms of the defender going low.
Free kick North Carolina into the 90th minute now.
And that's what I like from Anderson, what he brings to this group. Coming back, checking to the ball, draws that contact, draws the foul. But just checking into those spaces, he's not afraid to occupy that space, and then you see him, he's able to run behind as well. Brings a different look that we saw from the start of this one.
This is going backwards for NCFC. you said on March 15th that on May 18th you'd get a point on the road at Pittsburgh, probably take that. Attempt through, Sterling would have been offside. North Carolina take possession and another foul. Vera's received a talking to.
Yeah, I don't think Perez is going to have many friends in Pittsburgh after this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will be
only three added minutes.
It's a positive first touch he has here. Able to look up, and it's the late challenge here that draws the foul. Very much to the dismay of the Pittsburgh faithful in the crowd.
Martin. North Carolina has a chance to do something pretty special here. Anderson played it centrally, it's a bit behind. Pittsburgh had the best home record the championship last year. They lost only twice here, once in the regular season, then the playoff quarterfinal to Detroit. Down to Blackstock. Suber. Lobbed ahead out to Blackstock, first time cross. Diving on it is Carrera.
It's the right idea there from Blackstock. Early service, Carrera doing a good job filling that near post space, able to gobble up that cross. Good, strong goalkeeping.
Halfway through stoppage time. Oh, corner. North Carolina tied fourth most draws in the league. They're trying to pull ahead in what will end up being the last minute.
A little bit of a miscommunication there for the Pittsburgh defense, and the goalkeeper sees this ball going out for a corner. Nothing North Carolina would love more to get something late here with the effort they've put in tonight.
This could be an incredible moment for North Carolina, just shy of the final whistle. The delivery near post, met by Etu. That is riverbound.
There needs to be something that happens when the ball goes into the river.
The splash counter feels like an inauspicious thing to hit right before the last kick of the game, but let's see if it's a little better here. Perez has a chance to put his former team to the sword. Perez, decent ball. Biasi got a piece. Ball knocked down, scooped up by Conway. Kicked out, whistles in the mouth. That's it. It is full time. North Carolina gets their first road point of the season, and goodness, did they earn it. They suffered through the first half, equalized through Evan Conway in the second half, and Pittsburgh and North Carolina, for the first time in 5 all-time meetings, finished square, 1-1.
It was a good effort here, really, especially early in the early goings for Pittsburgh. As we see Edward Kizza, tonight's Modelo man of the match. He was able to get the goal on the scoreboard for Pittsburgh, but all the credit for me in this one goes to North Carolina and their mentality on the road. They weathered the initial storm, really, which was the entire first half. They found their goal and worked their way into the game. And in the last 20 minutes, North Carolina was putting the pressure on that Pittsburgh team, who is so good at home historically. I know that they wanted all 3 points out of this one, but it was a hard-fought effort from North Carolina. And for Bob Lilly, I think it's back to the drawing board, how to eliminate those mistakes, those momentary lapses in the back that gave up that goal. But a hard-earned point for both teams, and we'll both see them added up to the standings.
Let's take a look at tonight's save of the match.
Well, it was on this one here. Anderson able to find that own space, but Peralta is up to the task. He does a great job finding that right angle and putting the ball out of harm's way. as we see the forward take a turn here. Big time push save from the goalkeeper to keep the scoreline at 1-1.
The save of the game is presented by Smoothie King. Kizza, the king of this occasion for Pittsburgh. Goal right before halftime. It is not enough to seal all 3 points. We'll let you know what it means for the standings, show you highlights, and say goodnight after these messages.
Hey, you dropped your PA Lottery's new instant $1 million jackpot. It's go time. Coming through. Wow. Whoa. Ooh. You dropped this.
Wow, thanks.
You never know, it could be the big prize. Well, gotta scoot. Keep on scratching.
At AHN, good heart care starts before you're just not feeling right. Before you say, it'll go away on its own. Before it doesn't. Because before an emergency, there's time to stop heart problems with a simple preventative heart check. At AHN, we see you.
Pittsburgh is our home. Check in with Thermo Twin. We are employee owned. Check in with Thermo Twin. Check in. Check in. Check in. Check in. Check in with Thermo Twin.
Check in with Thermo Twin for up to 25% off and 24 months free financing.
Check in with Thermo Twin.
Highmark Stadium sold out tonight, and the spotlight on the most heavily contested of the East Coast games tonight in the championship. Pittsburgh and North Carolina finish 1-1. Let's take a look at the full-time highlights, show you how it happened. Riverhounds and North Carolina split the spoils. Goal scoring begins right before halftime in the 44th.
Well, it took all half for Pittsburgh to finally get that breakthrough, something they were working towards the entire first half, as we see Griffin occupying that space in the midfield, able to drive at that back line. Takes a little bit of a lucky bounce, but it's Blackstock who's running behind that right side all night long. And then it's Kizza who ultimately is reaping the rewards of that hard work by getting on the score sheet. But it was really this response here from North Carolina that changed the flow of this game. Perez has all time and space from about 45 yards out, puts the ball on an absolute platter for the forward Conway, who's able to rise up between the two center backs, flick it over to the outstretched arms of Peralta, and sees North Carolina picking up a hard-earned point on the road.
Here are the full-time stats, and we'll tell you standings-wise, North Carolina now level at the playoff line with Loudon on 11 points. Pittsburgh stays above the line in 7th on 13 points. Chance for your final thoughts, Jeff.
Well, in this one, it's really a tale of two halves. At halftime, Pittsburgh was leading possession 60-40, leading in shots on target as well. But North Carolina found their way in the second half, especially after that goal, and Pittsburgh was not able to recover and get their foot back on the ball. It's a really hard-earned effort. I think it really was Pittsburgh's game to take in the first half, but unfortunately, they weren't able to make the most of the opportunities they were given, and North Carolina was able to respond and take control of that second half. I think it's a deserved point from both teams. Of course, both teams wanted all 3 points, but at the end of the day, I think the scoreline reflects what we saw.
And Bob Lilly speaking to the team as this one concludes. These are points lost in their minds. Last year, they were dominant on home ground, and on this occasion, they end up falling a 1-1 result, unable to move up the Eastern Conference standings. North Carolina does get a vital point on the road, their first road point of the season. Conway, the equalizing goal in the 58th. A fun one tonight in front of over 5,000 in the Steel City. For Jeff Antonella, our entire team in Pittsburgh and beyond, Mike Watt saying thanks for watching as the Riverhounds in North Carolina split the spoils. So long for now.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.